So, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to unfortunately, to our last session at our conference. But this is the topic which I'm the most interested, for example, and I hope you are also very interested. And we have a very good speaker in this topic. The topic is online journalism. Can it work as a business model? You can listen to Ralf Schuler, chief correspondent in the Parliament office of Bild. Bild is, I think, the most important and most influential German daily newspaper and the most influential online website. Belongs to Axel Springer, and I'm very much interested about your presentation. And afterwards, I am very much waiting for your questions from the audience, and I will then ask and have a discussion with Mr. Schuler. Thank you very much. Mr. Schuler, please.
Hello, and first of all, I just want to say sorry for postponing your weekend. Let's keep it brief and I hope interesting. As some of you may know, Axel Springer is one of the biggest players in online marketing and in the range of online businesses in Germany. So everybody's going online, but how does online work? What makes media brands successful online? This would be a very good question for a conference of its own for several days. In typical Bild style, however, I want to provide a brief but comprehensive account of the topic. So our online and reach management basically rests on three pillars: content optimization, search engine optimization, and a social media strategy. And content optimization, which is interesting for all of you who publish by your own, content optimization begins with analysis, as detailed as possible, of all processes of our or your homepage. Which topics are the most read? Why are they read? Where do readers come from? From the homepage itself, via Google, Facebook, or others? Which stories, videos, etc. lead to the most subscriptions? So just to show a brief example of analysis, we can maybe switch to this email I get every morning. So this is a brief and comprehensive a version of the analysis of the last day. So, as you can see, maybe you can see it here. Yesterday we had 15.3 million visitors on our website, and that means that we had various days after another broke the 15 million frontier. So what were the main topics? This is this guy here, which is one of the most alarm-like talkers in Germany. It's a social democrat who always is warning for Corona, and he wants to close down restaurants who don't control strictly the Corona rules. So this was one of the successful contents yesterday, and so in this comprehensive overview, we analyze what were the most read topics, what were the most read articles, and therefrom we learn which topics we can extend. So we try to bring the same topic again with some news. We make the story new with some new facts and try to continue with the success of the first stories. So this is a ranking of the stories at all. And here you can see that this is a ranking of the comments, and which is an indicator for how controversial things are read and commented in the community. And this is also a point we use for our decisions, what kind of topics we make on the next day. So this is a graphic. Here you can see the views, 15.3 million. And afterwards we analyze the way where they come from. So it's very interesting to know if somebody comes because he is interested in the topic of the article, or he is interested in Bild. Some of the people want to look what is Bild publishing today, and some of them are interested in Corona in Russia and something like this, and they come on this way to our homepage. And then we got some comparisons. So how good we are we as good as we wanted to? And we got some goals we want to achieve. This is a statistic about the entries via Facebook. So this is quite a factor you could not underestimate. Facebook is really a good guidance to lead more traffic on your homepages. So I could go much more in detail, but I think we stop it here because it's too technical. You need this information in order to extend the relevant topics, to add more texts, videos, to do further research, and the like. At the same time, you must not forget about the appropriate form. Some political stories do not work as a text, but text very much work as a video or photo and sequence. In order to be able to make real-time adjustment here, our online department have so-called heat maps. They show the homepage in several colors. Blue stories don't work well, there's less traffic. Yellow ones work averagely, and red ones excellent. If a story remains blue for over an hour, we have to revise it. This could mean using a different picture, making the introduction more thrilling, changing the headline to something more interesting. If all of this doesn't work and over a longer period of time, the story has to be removed from the lead, called a teaser, from the prominent place on the homepage, and placed more into the background. For Bild, it is a matter of course that the mixture of topics on the website must be good. You cannot only promote political stories. Other media might have a different approach, of course, depending on what their competences focus on. So if you are focused on political issues, you have to find a way to make the political content more snackable. So this is what it means, and therefore you need information. What are the reasons people come to your website? So the second one, search engine optimization, is something many of you may probably have heard. So I'll keep it short. Google is still the gold standard for search engines. The so-called crawler, that is a main algorithm that searches texts and websites titles for keywords, prefers topics that are linked in as many texts, videos, photos as possible. A so-called Google Cloud. A CEO manager, search engine optimization manager, connects current stories with others on the same topic so that they are ranked higher in Google. You can look for keyword in Google Trends. So it is you may know Google Trends. You find something about sea turtles or something like this, and you publish articles on sea turtles or place the keyword sea turtle in your political text. Maybe it's not easy, but it should work. Then you can provide your own matching stories, thus making sure that the Bild pieces will also be listed for the keywords. For Bild, CEO makes up about 20% of the traffic that comes on our pages because we are listed in thematic searches. 20% for Bild for of the 50.3 million visits one day. At least half of the traffic is due to deliberate searches for Bild. Whereas a search engine, Google, is relatively transparent, new news aggregators such as Google News, Apple News, if you got an iPhone, you have to swipe to the left. You got a list of actual news, have recently entered the market, and their algorithms are not yet quite comprehensively. So we currently don't know how and why they list certain stories and how you could feed into it. This is very much complicated to get your story into this news feed of Apple and Google, maybe. For example, if you're wondering why a story about an Australian crab with a diamond in its shell, it's at the top of the online ranking for several days, these two aggregators are sometimes the answer. So we realize that a story is working very well and you don't know why. So maybe you can look at these search engines and you find that they will rank it very high. And you can't estimate what is the reason for. Springer operates Upday. This is our own news aggregator, an aggregator that collects all the Springer content, and it's pre-installed on all Samsung devices. So if you've got a Samsung mobile phone, there should be Upday on it. But I don't know whether it's in Hungarian. I only know it in English, French, and Spanish. The third pillar we rely on is social media strategy. This also requires a differentiated approach. Different platforms have their own logic. The point is not only to direct traffic towards the sites. Platforms themselves are often completely independent playgrounds. On Snapchat, for example, it's a photo platform for those who don't use it, you cannot link to anything. Still, Bild has about 500,000 Snapchat accesses per day from the age group of 13 to 21 years old, which is a very interesting group for us because we can hardly reach them by print at all. With photo and text stories on Snapchat, we can make them learning to know about Bild, and maybe afterwards they become regular users. With photo and text stories that are designed and particularly made for Snapchat, you can introduce the Bild brand to the audience and also make quite a lot of money. Our Snapchat teams already generate 15,000 euros per month and counting. With its 2 million users in Germany, Twitter is primarily a bubble of politics and media, an inside net where you appear in or to show the brand. Twitter does not bring any relevant amount of traffic to the homepage, about 3,000 accesses per day via Twitter of those 50 million. So this is not relevant. To compare, via Facebook, 18 million users come to Bild every month. Between 700,000 and 1 million people watch our videos on Facebook every day. For our TV and video activities, YouTube is particularly important. Bild has about 1 million YouTube subscribers. What's also interesting, if we have 1 million viewers on our TV channel, the same show is accessed 2.2 million times on YouTube. So there are much more YouTube viewers than TV viewers. That may show where the future goes to. And only 700 700,000 times the video is visited on our own website. This shows that people viewing habits are changing. The reach of the brand Bild is thus composed of a mix of those platforms. The profitability differs quite a bit. On YouTube, you get only 6 to 8 euros per 1,000 views. So this is quite a number which might be interesting for private use. On our own website, it's 16 euros per 1,000 views, because we also have banner advertisement around it. People with strong opinion are watched particularly often. Videos that are longer than 8 minutes have advertisements in between, which also generates more income on YouTube. I should also mention that we have about 8 million followers on Instagram, but you cannot make any significant amount of money from the platform. We are not on TikTok because our publishing house does not want to support Chinese state companies and Chinese servers. What all these three pillars have in common is that they are only successful if you have a professional approach and the necessary personnel for this. In other words, online success has its costs. Early illusions, according to which you could simply put some print content online, fix them up a bit, and the rest works automatically, have long been disproven. This is also a commercial problem for many small and medium-sized media outlets. It's often not profitable to professionally market certain contents, such as that is regional newspapers or private bloggers or something like this. The New York Times is read all over the world, and a regional newspaper from Brandenburg or from maybe Székesfehérvár is too small to have big worldwide access in the internet. For the media, being present on social media platforms and online in general is not only important for cultivating and extending their brand, but mostly because users' habits constantly changed. Young media consumers assume that they do not have to search for news and entertaining content, but that the content will automatically come to them in apps shared on platforms, in public space, or on various end devices, mobile phones, tablets, and something like this. It's quite unclear what this development will lead to. Who will rise, who will disappear? But one thing is certain: media who do not give this enough thought will disappear, and sooner rather than later. So this was what I wanted to tell you about our activities, and you can break it down to smaller entities if you are presented online too. Not everything is possible to convert into smaller business plans, but you can try it.
Thank you very much. I have very interesting questions for you. No problem. How was it? So Bild Zeitung, if you, most of all probably heard about it, but if you don't, in Germany it's really the media brand. So it was since the Second World War is the most, or one of the most, but probably the most successful newspaper and title on the German media market. There are literally works of a Nobel Prize winner in Germany who made a huge success with Katharina Blum about the Bild Zeitung. So it's really a very well-known brand. How did you realize that you have to move to the internet? How was it that when the company first realized that, okay, we have to start a website, was it to foresee that the website will be as important as it is now? So how was this development, this historical development of Bild growing from print and the first steps to online?
Well, I think the start of our internet approach was the big mistake in the middle of the 90s to establish online media without any payment. It strengthens a long-lasting culture of not paying for some journalistic items, and this made it very hard to start when the internet industry grows bigger and bigger in the early 2000 years, after the millennium. With the rise of Google and Facebook, it was clear that there's another platform you should be present on, and it was a famous trip from the editor-in-chief to California, and in I think 2010 or 2011, for half a year, when he tried to learn what the Googles and the Facebooks and all those firms, and the Apples, of course, are making better than we in Germany. And the start was hard because, as I said, some people thought that it would be easy with a few people just transferring the printed texts and photos into the internet, and that's all. And if you try to make it professionally, you realize very soon that you need a lot of programming, of virtualizing experts, of video experts, and you need a lot of programming for all the different end devices. For iPad, you can't use the same algorithms than for mobile phones. And so you need much more stuff, which is quite expensive, and you need it beside the normal print activities. And this was hard to learn during all these years. And the managing of online content with all these analytics is meanwhile a profession for its own. So there's a whole stuff just dealing with the range of our articles and the improving of the stories, improving of the search engine optimization and things like that. So it's quite a special business beside the real journalism.
But it's a quite successful story. It's a quite successful story now, because I checked on SimilarWeb. It's one of the measurement tools for to see internet performance. And in Germany, in the section of news and media, Bild is the number one. Yeah. In Germany, and the second is T-Online, Spiegel, Focus, and NTV. So all big traditional media brands who have their online performance and online media as well. How do you deal with that? So, for example, something is happening now in Germany. It's in 5 minutes on your website because it's an important news. But you have to publish it in the next day's edition of Bild. How did it change how do you make the redaction work with the daily newspaper, that you have also an internet platform, and basically you bring you have to bring all the important news online one day or on time previously, but on the next day you have to write about it, but most of your readers already had the information from the internet or from your website. How do you deal with this situation?
The most important point is that you have to change your journalistical view completely. Working only for a printed newspaper, you are focused on the product of the next newspaper, the deadline, and the product which is coming out next day. So if you put together the printed and the online channel, you have to focus on the occasion. So we call it story first. So something happens, and you have to be the first and the most informated source of this topic, what had happened. May it be an accident, an earthquake, or may it be some spectacular speeches in the Bundestag. So you have to focus on the occasion, and online has to react maybe in the second it happens, and be with an teaser on the website, and then reporters go out, video teams go out and try to cover this occasion and put it on the website, put it on TV, and at last you think on the newspaper, and okay, it's 5 p.m., so what of all this stuff we put in the newspaper tomorrow? So the newspaper goes more to the background.
And is it dangerous for the newspaper? Because if you have everything on the TV basically on time, you have everything on your online platform on time, why should I buy the newspaper tomorrow, the printed version?
One of the conclusions of the analytics are that the reader groups aren't the same in all these channels. So those people who buy newspapers in the morning are not the same that consume information in real time on her mobile device. And you have to present it in a quite different way. So if you got a video from an accident or from the flood in Western Germany in autumn, you have to be maybe on your way to work or from the work, and you have to watch 5 minutes of a video. If you don't want this, you can buy the newspaper next morning, and you got a short overview of all the things happened, and you can read the sports results and have some funny stories too. So this is quite a completely different group of media users. So it's not the problem we were thinking of first.
And who are these groups? So who are the people who go immediately online and pay for the content online, and who is the group, and who are the people who are going next morning to a kiosk and they want to buy a printed copy of Bild?
It's not so astonishing that the print buyers are much older than the social media users, but the interesting thing is that the amount of people willing to pay for content is 10 times higher for gossip and glamour news compared to politics. It's not easy for me to stand it, but it is the truth. So if some of Paris Hilton has married today, as you may know, this makes more than 10 million visits. And if we got a brand new story about the candidates for the conservatives in Germany, we have 150,000 visits, we have 200,000 visits, but this is the top of the political pops.
And do you have persons, you mentioned Paris Hilton, but probably in politics, who are big stars? So you know when you put this name, so in Hungary, for example, when we put Gyurcsány Ferenc in Mandiner, and everybody is clicking and want to see what Gyurcsány Ferenc said, the previous prime minister of Hungary. And I think it's very similar in every Hungarian newspaper because he's a person who is dividing his audience and the people. Do you have similar personalities in Germany?
It's difficult with German stars. We, as Bild, have a certain rapper, Bushido. I don't know if he's known in Hungary, but his wife got drilling. It's 3. I don't know.
3 kids.
Not twins, but 3.
Yeah. 2 twins plus 1.
Yeah. So this is and And this is a couple who is very willing to talk about all the details, how they talk in the kitchen, what he said when he knows it. So it's a trash from the finest. And this is quite popular. But in political matters, interesting, North Korea. Everything Kim does is read millions of times. I don't know why. Maybe it's a kind of fairy tales or something like this. So if he is killing a dog, his sister is biting a cake. Everything. This is really interesting, and nobody knows if it's true or not. So nobody has internal view into Northern Korea.
And then, why is it important? So if you see that that all these more trash content is bringing much more viewers, why? I think to make quality political journalism is very expensive for a company. Why the company thinks it's important that, for example, you have a bureau in the Bundestag and you do your daily work there?
Well, internet has a special effect. If you're looking for topics, you must not be a friend of Bild. So if you're interested in social democrats, you're searching in a search engine someone and you'll reach Bild. So we presenting any kind of news, and if our news are the freshest and the best and the most ranked by Google, people come to Bild, even though they don't like Bild. So we try our best to be the first, the fastest, and hopefully the hardest in interviews or something like this. And it works, obviously.
Is there a phenomenon? We have this phenomenon in Hungary that, for example, actors or important people or politicians, they think it's important to appear in the printed version of a newspaper. But on the other hand, if you appear on the internet, on the online version, you reach much more people. Do you think that this prestige of a printed version versus the online version is still existing?
It depends on the customers of the different customers of the parties. The conservatives, which are focusing on much older electors, they really like to be in the printed version, and are a bit sad if you tell them, well, you online. There's a bon mot, better short in print than big in online. So this is wrong. The more modern parties know that they can share the content we produce online much easier than you copy a printed article or you force people to buy the newspaper. If you're clever as a politician, you like the online contents, and you got maybe a youth organization with some fit guys who spreading all over the country with these contents. Therefore, the paywall is a problem. So if you try to distribute paywall contents, it generates a bit of stress. So there are a lot of people who are interested in the topic, but they don't want to pay. So maybe next time.
It was a very interesting phenomenon that Bild started this year in August, television. Yeah. And everybody is now more and more going from online to YouTube to have more and more video content, video channels online. And Bild started a classical cable news television station. What was the reason behind? What is the business model behind, and how these things, print online and paywall online plus television, is working together?
It's a broad mixture of causes. First of all, we realized that in the political spectrum of the German TV stations, there's a gap for tabloid journalism, and the left-wing green leaded programs are a bit stronger than others. So this was the one point. The other point was reading competence is decreasing year by year. So the tendency goes to journalistical content which is consumable by viewing, not by reading. So if you have a TV channel, you can produce interviews with politicians. You have nice pictures from spectacular shows from stars, and you get all this stuff we got in the treasure chest, which is a tabloid newspaper. We got it in moving pictures, and we can grab these pictures for short clips on our website. We can grab these video clips for YouTube, and we can script and write down the content in the newspaper and on our own website. So we have a much broader range for this content, which we already producing original for TV. So this was a good idea to produce professional TV programs and to spread it in all channels that are possible, even on Snapchat or on Instagram or wherever. So you reach much more people with it. And the difficulties are that you may notice if there's a new channel, you have to start your searching on the remote control of the TV set to find it. This is nothing people over 50 like. So if you have found our new TV channel, you have to replace it in the first 10 numbers, maybe to reach it very easy and comfortable. And this is one problem. The other problem is to have a full program 24 hours a day. This needs a lot of hard work in the office, and we got a problem. We got a program of 6 to 8 hours, and we are making TV not to fill a hard schedule with all the news. So we are acting if something happens, and if there is a train accident somewhere, we are there in 15 minutes, and there is a TV show around it with experts and with reporters, and you have to act very fast. You have to act very professional, and the reporter from the print has to be able to take his mobile device and make a video to be switched into the news show on TV. So you have to be able not only to write good stories, to be good in research, but you have in search. You have to be good in being a TV reporter, and this is much more complicated for some of the colleagues than compared to other media houses.
So you think that the future of journalism is that a journalist is doing everything, making a video, writing the text, creating the whole content for all the platforms, and how the colleagues react to that? Can everybody do that?
Well, I think the future is more diverse, not in the sexual way Birgit Keller explained it, but there are a lot more professional channels to work in. So if something happens, you have to be in real time on your homepage. when something big is happening in politics, in Bundestag, in the parliament, somebody has to be at the place, and somebody has at the same time be inside of the office and write it down, and somebody at the same time is twittering the most important things, and at the same time another one is producing a video and cutting the video and commenting the video to have it a few minutes later on your TV channel. So it's much broader what you can do in a journalism office than in former times where you are a print reporter and nothing else. So this is very nice, and if you are in a good position, you can choose what fits you most.
And do you see a challenge there are a lot of YouTubers, TikTokers, podcasters who are doing this for a hobby. And in Germany, in recent years, appeared some YouTubers, for example, who are producing, sitting in their own room, a TV show or a YouTube show, which are very successful and reach an audience just like a big commercial company. Do you see a problem in that, and do you see a future tendency in that probably everybody can produce a future newspaper from not a high amount of money, which can be dangerous for the big media houses like Bild and Spiegel and so on and so on?
Well, there are much more new participants in the media branch, and it's good for the branch, I think. There was a spectacular video of a YouTuber last year who tried to destroy the CDU, the Conservative Party, and he is called an influencer, something like this. It was a speech of nearly 1 hour where he threw out his hatred of the conservatives. And it was so impulsive, so authentic, and so powerful that it had really a big impact of the political scene, and it gathers, I think, more than 20 million viewers in some days. And it makes the big conservative party restless. They didn't know how to react. You can't answer in 1 hour Philippica again with an hour of statement that is not right. The statistics say another thing. Nobody wants to see it. So it is mixing up and steering up the market, and this is good. You have to think over what is your approach. How can you transport your content in a so snackable way that it's juicy enough for people to be interested in? So the times are over when you can present something and the user has to eat it or not. So the future might be more colorful, but not so comfortable, maybe.
The literature about media and about media developments has an important topic, which is gatekeepers and gate openers. Gatekeepers are the journalists. You are, for example, a gatekeeper because you can decide, will this story be in the news or not? You read a lot of news, a lot of stories, a lot of statements, and then you decide and you select only 2 or 3% of this and put it on the online paper, and even less in the printed paper, in the printed version. What do you think? Is it a danger that this quality check that you can do as a senior journalist it can be cancelled by TikTokers, by YouTubers, by podcasters, or by bloggers, and anything else can be a news?
Well, it is a problem if you are a gatekeeper and there isn't a gate anymore. So everybody can publish its own view and its own video sequences and everything. So if we don't do it, somebody else does it. Our only way to be more successful is to show that our choice of news is the relevant one and a good one, and that it is a choice which is building up reality. If we try to make a virtual world and try to keep things away from the users, and they ask, hey, my reality is another one, what are you telling us? Then we will get lost. So people has got more voice with the internet and with online journalism, and that makes pressure on the common media, and this is okay. So we should really discuss on the gatekeeper function, what is worse not to let through the gate. So we are under pressure if we think there is something we have to avoid from our users.
And do you think that, okay, then there are people who can just tweet and tell what they want and want to say to the public, but there is another border that they have to cross, which is the algorithm. Which is the algorithm on Facebook, which is the algorithm of a search engine like Google. Do you face problems with this algorithm as Bild Zeitung? Do you often see that, or do you sometimes see that you want to say something, you want to put and publish it on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram, and then there is a border, or the algorithm says no, this content can't go to Facebook?
This is really a problem, because if Google or Facebook is blocking something, you hardly find somebody who is responsible for that, and you can discuss with. We are a media brand, and you can reach everybody working at Springer, at Bild, and can ask, hey, what you're doing, why does this important part of my reality is blocked on your media? Why do you intend not to report things on the AfD or something? So we have to tell them why we are reporting, how we're reporting, and where we're reporting. And if we do not report and it is relevant, we got a problem. So we are reachable for everybody, and the algorithms are hardly to find, and this is a problem. So I think it should be more common that platforms make transparent how they make their choice in news. So if you got Apple News, you have Google News, and if somebody wants to know, hey, why do you rank this politician over a long period of time very high or very low, you have to argue, and they have to be very transparent what they are doing there. And this is a fight. This is still to be fought.
My last question is, if you would be now 20 years old, how would you start your journalistic career? Would you start your own blog, your own YouTube channel, or would you go to the Hungarian version of Bild Zeitung or the Hungarian version of Die Welt? Which way would you go as a young future journalist?
This is a very hard question, because there was one thing I never want to do, that was journalism. It is a special story, because I'm coming from the eastern part of Germany, and because of political reasons I had no chance to get a study place, and they forced me to go to the production, and I produced electric bulbs. I don't know, It's a generation. It's still forbidden, and the conditions of work in this factory were so evil that I just wanted to come out anyhow. And there was a chance for. I knew some people who knew others, and they told me that there maybe is a chance in a newspaper, and you can write about pigeon breeders and so local things. And I thought, okay, I do it. It's better than the production of tungsten wires for electric bulbs, and that's why I went to journalism. I often ask myself whether I would be a journalist if I were younger or not, because what you do as a journalist is completely different from what we did, not only by the typewriter. This is it's no problem if you press the keys on a typewriter or on a keyboard, but going out to the world, meeting people, writing reports, seeing parts of the world, it's a very smaller part of journalism today than it was when I started.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much that you've been with us. Thank you for our audience that you participated in this event. This was the last section of our conference. So thank you very much for that you attended this, and I hope that we keep in touch with our students for sure. But I hope with our other guests we can go on with this. Thank you very much.